So how do you get wood to do that? If you ask Micah Doering, you have to get steamed at it. Not with anger, but with encouragement. This wood is on its way to becoming a drum, the old-fashioned way, with steam. Micah makes round drums from straight materials and knows just how to bend them to his will. He turned serious in making custom, handmade steam-bent drums in 2011 under his company, Cask Drum Craft. Micah uses his own techniques and processes not only for his own finished drums, but for drum companies around the world.
I do try to do about 10% of my business custom work, because that's really where I started, was all custom drum building. And through that, kind of got into the market of OEM raw drum shells. When I first started this, the first one I built, it inspired me to keep going, but I gotta say, when I built my first steam bent drum, there was something about it, and I don't know what it was. It was almost like I was kind of living vicariously through somebody else or something, but I just knew that this method, I've got to keep doing it. I wouldn't say I've always been able to work with my hands, but having my dad get me going with carpentry young, it really helped. It kind of instilled in me the way to use your hands and how to craft things and get an end result that's desirable. I've been playing drums since I was in 6th grade. I used to have a band I played with, and we'd play a lot of local venues around here and whatnot, but I don't do that anymore. I'm kind of just playing when I can. My family got me started in the concert band, and I just gravitated towards drums, and my dad was a drummer. My parents kind of guided me down the drum path, and carpentry came with that, because I'd play drums and then I'd do carpentry on the side with my dad. To actually build a proper steam bent drum, the tolerances are plus or minus 1/100th of an inch. So to a typical machinist, that might not sound like much when you're working with metal, but wood is like a sponge. It's living and breathing, dependent upon the humidity. So to actually get wood to stay in a perfect circle, plus or minus 1/100th of an inch, is very hard.
In today's market, Micah's solid, handmade wood drums compete with mass-produced plywood veneered drums.
If you ask me, this is how drums should be built. Plywood just doesn't resonate like solid wood does. So with the steam bent drums and being a solid ply, you get more resonance. You don't have the glue inhibiting that. As far as the manufacturing process is concerned, it starts at the wood mill or the lumber mill.
By working with sawyers and arborists, Micah frequently searches locally, when he can, to procure wood for his creations.
A lot of the stuff I work with actually comes from people's backyards. The glory of that is it's actually wet, and that's ideal for me. I don't have to resaturate it for the steaming process. It can go right into the steam box. It'll be wrapped around a mandrel and steam bent into usually a 13, 14, 15-inch circle, which is your typical snare drum size. After it's wrapped into a circle, it'll dry and cure for around 2 months. We'll make sure the moisture content's around 8 to 9%, and then we'll glue it into a perfect circle. With steam bending, you usually run about a 25% failure rate. And 25%, that's an average. Some wood species, like the Paduic, the Babinga, the more exotic stuff, half of those are gonna break. So that's why they're a bit more costly. And then you got stuff like cherry and walnut and maple, almost 100% of those are gonna make it through the process. So, originally, these drums were so hard to build is because there is a huge loss up front, and that's probably one of the reasons why the manufacturing went to plywood over time.
The satisfaction in the creation of steam-bent drum shells is convincingly one of the reasons Micah has spent long hours perfecting the process and production of his craft.
That's the most gratifying part of this job is something with the Cask brand name on it. There's probably under 5 in the world that actually have a reputable brand building steam bent drums. So a lot of people just aren't crazy enough to do it. There's a science to it. It doesn't always seem like a science, but I've compiled a lot of notes on how to do it and how to get the success rates much higher than they were when I started bending the wood.
Micah realizes he has a niche product inside a small marketplace. Countless hours, coupled with a large amount of ingenuity in perfecting his craft, prompts Micah to be somewhat protective of his process.
There is a big desire for handmade products, and then being educated on how to do that. And on my social media, I really try and educate as much as possible. I try and show everything I can without disclosing too much and kind of giving all the little secrets I've worked hard for. But yeah, there's a lot of desire to learn this. You know, I've had dreams of doing like a drum building course or something where, you know, for 1 week you have a few people in and they can learn how to do what I do. And maybe that'll be not too far off, but it would be kind of fun to kind of disclose at least some of it.